Gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign. Please fasten your seatbelt as soon as possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, just to let you know we're expecting a small bit of turbulence up ahead, and as such I've decided to turn on the seatbelt sign. For your safety, please remain seated for a few minutes until the flight is turned off. Thank you.
Support for NPR and the following message come from Fidelity Wealth Management. Tap the play button to meet VP Dylan Sanders, who believes that no matter your level of assets, a Fidelity advisor can help you create a roadmap to your goals.
Live from NPR News, I'm Nora Rahm. The chief financial officer of former President Trump's family business, Ellen Weisselberg, has turned himself in to authorities in New York. He and the company are expected to be formally charged with crimes later today. His lawyers say he intends to plead not guilty. Ilya Meritz has more.
Donald Trump and his family business have been in court thousands of times over the years. They have sued people and they've been sued, but it's always been civil, never criminal. Now criminal charges are expected. They're being returned by a grand jury after a 3-year investigation by Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. Vance obtained years of Trump tax records and financial filings, and it appears those records, and perhaps witness testimony, will form the basis for the indictment. Trump has long maintained his innocence and accused Vance of being politically motivated. For NPR News, I'm Ilya Meritz in New York.
President Biden is visiting Surfside, Florida today, the site of the partial collapse of a condo building 1 week ago. The president and the First Lady will meet with the families of those killed or missing and will thank the first responders and rescue crews. On Air Force One this morning, White House Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the Federal Emergency Management Agency is providing more money and staff.
Given the circumstances and the unprecedented response underway led by state and local officials, FEMA expedited this request for funding from the state.
The death toll is 18. 145 people are missing. The House voted yesterday to establish a special committee to investigate the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. The vote was largely along party lines. Only 2 Republicans approved the measure. The House had earlier approved establishing an independent commission to investigate, but that approach was blocked by Republicans in the Senate. Stocks opened higher this morning as new claims for unemployment fell to their lowest level since the start of the pandemic. At last check, the Dow is up 81 points, the S&P is up 10. NPR's Scott Horsley has more on that story.
364,000 people filed new state claims for unemployment last week. That's down about 51,000 from the week before. Another 115,000 people applied for aid under a special federal program for gig workers and the self-employed. As of mid-June, nearly 14.7 million people were receiving some form of jobless assistance. That number is expected to drop in the coming weeks. That's partly because people are going back to work. It's also because more than 24 states are phasing out the emergency unemployment assistance that Congress authorized during the pandemic. Those emergency programs are set to expire in all 50 states by early September. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
The Dow is now up 84 points. This is NPR News. China's ruling Communist Party is celebrating its 100th birthday today. NPR's Emily Fang reports on an hour-long speech by the party's top leader.
Xi Jinping stood on Beijing's Tiananmen Square in front of the Imperial Forbidden City Palace. Flanked by Communist Party leaders past and present and wearing a gray Mao suit, Xi celebrated the party's achievements in the last century. He reassured listeners that China's rise was peaceful. But he also vowed to strengthen China's military, conquer Taiwan, and keep stability in Hong Kong. Today is also the anniversary for when Hong Kong came back under Beijing's control. Xi Jinping says the Chinese people will never allow any foreign force to bully, oppress, or enslave us. Anyone who dares will necessarily get bloodied before the steel Great Wall built with the flesh and blood of 1.4 billion Chinese people. Emily Fang, NPR News, Beijing.
Health officials in Oregon say at least 63 people have died in the state from the record heat wave. In Canada, the chief coroner in British Columbia reports there were at least 486 sudden and unexpected deaths since last Friday, hundreds more than usual. He said it's likely the increase is attributable to the extreme weather. At least 16 people were injured when confiscated fireworks exploded in Los Angeles last night. Police have collected more than 5,000 pounds of explosives in a pre-4th of July sweep. Some of the fireworks were being stored in a bomb squad trailer for disposal when they exploded, damaging cars and blowing out windows in nearby homes. I'm Nora Rahm, NPR News.
The Trump organization is accused of financial crimes.
After a 3-year investigation, today the Manhattan District Attorney is expected to charge Trump's family business.
The core of them is serious.
What might this mean for Trump?
I'm Rachel Martin with Noel King, and this is Up First from NPR News. 1 week after the collapse of a condo tower in Surfside, Florida, President Biden heads there today to meet with survivors and families of victims. As the search for missing people continues, NPR learns that building management was aware of structural problems for years.
And Bill Cosby is out of prison. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court vacated his sexual assault conviction. He was one of the first high-profile arrests of the Me Too movement. How are people responding, and what could his release mean for other cases like this? Stick with us. We get the news you need to start your day.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Nature Valley Granola Bars. Having a busy day? Nature Valley invites you to take a minute to re-energize with the sounds of nature, starting with this walk through the forest. For more, visit takeintheoutdoors.com.
The Manhattan DA's office has been investigating the Trump Organization for 3 years now.
And we may have reached the culmination of that investigation at this point. This afternoon in New York, the former president's family business and one of its leading executives are expected to be charged with financial crimes.
Reporter Ilya Maritz is following this story. Good morning, Ilya.
Good morning, Noel.
So a former president has never been charged with breaking the law,